my name is Julia and welcome to my channel. So today I will be sharing my April TBR with you, and I will be doing a March wrap-up and a January and February wrap-up, but I want to wait because I'm also doing a reading journal and I want to share that and go over it while I talk about the books I read. So, I have a lot of books on my list for this month. Will I get to all of them? Probably not. But I'm hoping to get to at least most of them. There are a few that I probably won't read this month because I'm a huge mood reader. I've always been, and at the moment some of these are really just not appealing to me right now. So I will mention those as we come across them. The first book on my list is Marvelous by Molly Greeley. And this is fantasy.
A mesmerizing novel set in the French royal court of the Renaissance Queen Catherine de Medici that recreates the touching and surprising true story behind the Beauty and the Beast legend.
I have not heard of this author before, but I do love any type of fairy tale retelling pretty much. So I want to give this book a try, but it is lower on my list because it seems like the romance is my least favorite trope. Enemies/haters to lovers. But I am intrigued by the premise. The main character lives in this court, and every night there's this one day where at midnight there's like a huge lightning bolt or something, and then she rewinds time to the beginning of the day and she's stuck in this time loop. Also, I think like the love interest, Pedro Gonzalez, a young boy living on the island of something, understands that he is different from the other children in his village. He is mercilessly ridiculed for the hair covering his body from head to toe. So I have high hopes because I'm intrigued and it just sounds interesting. The next book on my list is Smoke and Summons by Charlie N. Holmberg, and this is also lower on my list because I have read two books from this author. One I did not like at all. In fact, it's mentioned right here that she's the author of The Paper Magician, which is the book I did not like at all. And the other is Followed by Frost that I read last month and I really enjoyed. So this is a hit or miss author for me, which is why this book is lower on the list. This book specifically is about, I'm going to read the back because this is one I'm less sure about.
As a human vessel for an ancient spirit, Sandis lives no ordinary life. At the command of her master, she can be transformed against her will into his weapon, a raging monster summoned to do his bidding. Unlike other vessels, Sandis can host extremely powerful spirits, but hosting such creatures can be fatal. To stay alive, she must run, and in a city fueled by smoke and corruption, she finds a surprising ally.
And of course, the guy she finds is a thief. I'm not exactly in the mood for this right now, so this is why it's also lower on my list. And I don't have extreme faith in the author, so...
Okay, the next book is Come Back to Me by Jody Headland. This is also lower on my list, but just because, again, the premise isn't exactly something
I'm super interested in. It's like a contemporary novel about this girl named Marion, I think, and her father recently became ill. He was doing research to try and heal, I think, the main character's sister of her, like, some sort of disease. And I know it's a time travel book where she goes back in time. And I think that's connected to the research her dad was doing. And she goes back in time to medieval Europe, which I'm also not big into time travel books, but I want to give this book a shot because the cover is just really pretty in my opinion. I think it's beautiful. Also, I want to branch out the genres I read because most of the time it's just like YA fantasy. And this book is probably YA fantasy, but it's also like Christian literature, which I want to read more of. The next book on my list is The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis, and this one I will probably read because it's really thin and I just want to read a lot of books this month, so I'm trying to pick up thinner books, I guess. This one is Christian literature. It's essentially about this demon named Wormwood, I think, or something like that. What is his name? And he writes to his nephew, Screwtape, essentially saying all the ways they catch up and snare humans. And I feel like it's also very insightful. I've read snippets from it when I was in high school, but I never read the entire thing. So I also just love C.S. Lewis as an author, so I am excited for this one. The final physical book on my TBR is Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon McGuire. I don't know how to pronounce the author's name. This one I've heard a lot about. It is, most of the people who've read it give it 5 stars, so I'm really excited about it. Also, again, it's super thin, so I will definitely read this book. It's about the kids from like fairy tales and stuff. Not necessarily fairy tales, but a bunch of stories where children go to other worlds, like, and essentially what happens afterwards and kind of the transition from that magical experience of going to a fantasy world and then coming back home and living. Like, it has Wendy from Peter Pan and Lucy from Narnia and Alice from Alice in Wonderland. And essentially it's like, I guess, a therapy session or something for them, like, coming back. And I'm just super excited to read this. The only thing I'm iffy about is that I'm worried I might not like it is because I have heard it has, some people say it has some horror-esque elements, which if it does, I'm a scaredy cat, so we shall see. But I've heard it touches a lot of people and a lot of people just love it, so I want to give it a try. The next book on my list is Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. And this one I'm excited to read because T. Kingfisher has been getting more and more acclaim for her novel Nettle and Bone, which one of my friends read and really enjoyed. But Sword Heart specifically is, from what I can remember, it's about this girl who, one of her uncles or something just died, and so she goes to his house to kind of live with her cutthroat family. And I know it's called Sword Heart, I think, because there's a sword who used to be a human, and I think he was turned into a sword, and now he has to faithfully serve her family, but specifically her, and he protects her throughout the story, which I think is a really interesting premise. Okay, the next few books on my list are, I picked them all because I was thinking, you know what's a genre of like books that I haven't heard that much about? Superhero books. I know there's like, Marvel has a ton of like acclaim, but that's most of the superhero stuff I know and have heard about are like movies and films or TV shows. So I haven't really heard anybody talk about superhero novels, so I want to delve into that a little bit. The next book on my list is Ex-Heroes by Peter Klein. This one is described as superheroes but in a zombie apocalypse, which I feel like is a really interesting and unique premise. I haven't read that many post-apocalyptic books either, but I also want to get into that genre, so this is kind of hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. That's kind of all I know about this specific book, but I am super pumped because a lot of people on the internet, when I was looking up like superhero books, this was recommended on a lot of different websites. I did start reading it, well, I read the first page or so just because I wanted to get a feel, and it does need a profanity filter, but I found one, so just so you know. The next book on my list is The Perfect Run by Maxime J. Durand, I think. Durand, I don't know how you pronounce that. I actually did start reading this one because when I downloaded it onto iBooks, it was much longer than I thought it was. And so I do want to finish this book this month because there's a whole video I have planned out for some of these, and I just wanted to start it. So it is fun so far. The premise is about this superhero. I'm not sure if he's a hero. This super-powered person named, I think his name is Ryan, which just seems kind of funny to me, where his ability is kind of like a game and it allows him to create a save point. Like, say he'll like save at a certain point in time, and then if he dies, it will just take him back in time to the point where he saved. He can essentially rewind time, which is really interesting, and I haven't seen that done before, and I just really like the idea of just like video game based superpowers in novels. Since I've never heard of this book and it's just one I came across, don't have a whole bunch of faith that it's going to be amazing, but so far it does have my attention. The next book on my list is Foraging Hephaestus. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. It is also somewhat lower on my list because it doesn't have a whole bunch to instantly grab my attention. It's essentially about, I think, this girl who has a superpower, but she's a petty thief, and one day she steals from the wrong people, and they kind of threaten her to join them and pull off, I think, a big job, or they will kill her. So I think she accidentally, I don't know if it was an accident, but she got caught and by the supervillains. So it's essentially about that. And I think it's called Forging Hephaestus because she has to make them a weapon or something. I'm not entirely sure. The next one I am really pumped about and excited. It is called After the Golden Age by Carrie Vaughn. I think I pronounced that correctly. And it is essentially about this young woman who has come from a superhero family. Both of her parents are really, really well-known and renowned superhero. And I don't know if something happened in her childhood or if she just does not like that career. But when she grows up, she decides, you know what? I really don't want to be a superhero. I guess she dislikes it so much that she's like, you know what? I want to be an accountant. And she does accounting until one day her boss tells her that one of their clients committed tax fraud, and they ask her to go catch him because apparently she does have a superpower ability, or they know she comes from a family of renowned superheroes, and the person she's supposed to go catch is a supervillain. And I just think this plot is so funny and out there, especially to me, because if you don't know, I'm an accounting major, so I just think it's hilarious, and I can't wait to read this one. I really hope it lives up to it. The final book on my list is Confessions of a D-List Supervillain by Bernheimer Jim. I think I said his name correctly. And this one, I don't really like the cover. I think it looks a little cheesy, but the beginning already seems really interesting to me. It's essentially about a small-time supervillain who I think gets caught right off the bat because all the superheroes are just so powerful, and he, I think, I wouldn't say is somewhat forced to help the superheroes, I think, but he doesn't want to get involved with either the big-time superheroes or the big-time supervillains, so I'm already really intrigued, and I really love funny books, so I am really excited to see where these will go. As mentioned earlier, will I get to all of these? Probably not. Most likely not. There are a couple other books that I've been eyeing that I might pick up this month, but I didn't want to mention them here in case I don't, because I'm super hyped about them. And if I don't pick them up this month, I will definitely read them within the next couple months. So that is my complete April TBR. Please let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought about them. And let me know, are there any books you're planning to read this month? I would love to hear from you guys. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you in another video. Bye!